I'm Nate Brockman. I joined in 2006. I ended up going to boot camp down in MCRD San Diego. So I'm a West Coast Hollywood Marine. I joined because I was starting to get into some bad crowds, and into some bad things, so I had to, change my life around, and give myself a little bit better of a life. So I figured, what better choice? My recruiter was actually my brother-in-law, and my mom told him, if you can convince my son, you can convince anybody. So he came down, we talked about it, and I was originally supposed to be a graphic designer for the Marine Corps. Turned out I didn't have the security clearance for that, so it was either infantry or motor T. I said, well, if I went infantry, my mom would kill me. So I went motor T. Turned out that I was motor T with an infantry unit. I was deployed twice. My first deployment was a MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. So basically we were on ship. We floated around for 8 months, Mediterranean float. We went to 12 different countries while we were there. We did a humanitarian mission in Bangladesh after the tsunami that they had over there in 2007, 2008. And we also did counter piracy tactics out just outside of Africa while we were doing that.
You guys were there when the Captain Phillips story
correct.
happened, right?
Yep, that was us out there. So we were doing counter piracy operations and stuff out there while all of that was actually happening. So we came back to the States. We were back for, I believe, 6 months. And we did training, cold weather training, hot weather training. Spent a couple months out in 29 Palms, California. Yeah, that was about as close to the Afghani desert as you're going to get here in the States. But we did a lot of training, and then we finally deployed in 2008. It was October 2008 to Afghanistan. We stopped over in Germany for a couple hours, and then Kyrgyzstan to acclimate to everything that was over there. It was kind of our in-docker, before we went into country.
Did you guys know you guys were going to Afghanistan when you were in the States, or where it was up in the air between Iraq and Afghanistan?
No, we knew we were going to Afghanistan. It was imminent. We all knew exactly where we were going. We knew where we were training for. We knew exactly what we were going to be going over there.
So you guys even knew your mission down to. That's how prepared you guys were when it went.
We were pretty close to knowing, what we were going to be doing out there. It was just, it was combat missions. We knew that we were going to get into combat missions. We knew that we were going to be trying to take back, Southern Afghanistan. So when we first got there, we came into Camp Bastion, which is a NATO base. So basically, there was the British, the Australians were there. There was Danish military there, and the U.S. Marines. We were just a tiny little area. We really weren't supposed to be there. There was actually a whole nother base that they were supposed to be building, Camp Leatherneck, which most people know about Camp Leatherneck. That's the big base there in Afghanistan for Marines. But it was just a dust bowl when we got there. There was literally nothing it was just a big open desert when we got there. So we were on Camp Bastion for a little while. We did a couple of resupply missions out to a couple of the cops and fobs out there, and then they shipped me and 3 other Motor T guys down to this little tiny fob called Fob Delaram, and I believe it was the French that were there. You know, they had a couple of people there, you know, but it was just this little tiny hole in the wall, you know, just outside of the town of Delaram, just on the other side of the river. But we took that little tiny, you know, fob and built it up so our entire unit could basically be there with all our supporting units. We ended up putting in a helipad there. I mean, it grew exponentially from the little tiny place that we first got to. So our average day, especially for me, we ran a lot of resupply missions. You know, we would go out to we'd go out to Gulistan a lot, which was a little tiny cop, and we'd get out, we'd drive there. It's about 3 hours, just across the middle of the desert. You know, no roads. You know, you're just going through what's called the wadis. You know, just washouts. You know, and just driving through the desert for 3 hours endlessly. But we'd always, you know, we'd get out there and we'd take the Humvees that we were transporting out to them. We'd take those off the backs of our trucks, you know, and give them those, and then take back all the destroyed vehicles and stuff that they had. You know, resupply with ammunition and food and everything else that they're going to need out there. So.
The major threat was IEDs in that area?
Oh yeah, we had one pass every single time we went through it. They would set it up because it was just a pinch point. You literally have to. It was big enough for one vehicle to go through at a time. You had to go through one little area. There was no getting around it. You know, and they knew that. You know, and it was a perfect vantage point for them. Because they could sit right up on the mountain, you know, because there was a mountain on either side, and they could sit right up in the mountain there, you know, set up their IEDs. You know, we'd have to go through there. We had to detect, you know, we'd have to deploy our mine detectors, you know, metal detectors out there. Guys out on foot with metal detectors, you know, looking for it. And first time we went through there, we had them out. Had our guys out there, and my sergeant was out there doing it, and all of a sudden I see him jumping around, and he was kind of a weird guy anyways, you know, so I was like, what is this guy doing? You know, and then, you know, all of a sudden you just see, you know, rounds, you know, hitting off the ground right in front of your vehicle, and then across the side of your vehicle you just hear them ting, 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 all the way down, you know, and that's when you knew that you were in it, because everything before that was just, you know, run-of-the-mill, you know, we're going to take supplies from here to there, you know, and it was just, you know, in a desert that you were doing it instead of back in the States. So that's when it got real, you know. You know, you start taking rounds on the side of your vehicle, you know, and then I don't know how many times we'd be driving through there. We'd have you know, mine rollers out. IEDs would go off, blow those up, and then we'd be sitting ducks out there because we have to take the mine roller off, we have to put it onto a truck, we have to take it out of there, or if we did detect it, you know, an IED out there, then we have to wait for EOD to come out, you know, so that's, you know, 3 hours away from anything, so it's 3 hours of sitting there, you know, just waiting, you know, because they just sit it right up in the mountain, and then we take small arm fire, you know. And I I think there was a couple of RPGs here and there,
Yeah.
you know, but it was just a hotbed for it, you know, and we knew it.
Yeah.
Every single time we went through there.
How many trucks were you guys rolling when you were doing
We would roll probably 16 trucks.
this? Okay, so it was a large.
Oh yeah,
convoy.
it was large convoys. Yeah.
And what was it sort of the thing that they would let the first few vehicles go by and then hit you guys?
It kind of all depended, you know, on where they had it set. You know, if it was a pressure plate, if it was, you know, a remote detonate, you know, we never knew. You know, I mean, they were killing us with crush plates and cell phones and water bottles and
Yeah.
you know, everything else. You know, so I mean, there were times where the front vehicle would get hit. There were times where, you know, the 10th vehicle would get hit. You know, you never knew ever.
How long was this pass that you guys were, you know, this choke point that you guys were going through?
The pass was, I don't know, I'd say, you know, where we actually would take contact and everything was probably about a half-mile stretch. I mean, it was we knew exactly where it was going to be. You know, it was, I mean, you could see from one end to the other, and you knew where it was going to be. And you just were hoping that you crested the top of that hill before anything happened.